All right, we're back. Friday time, at least when this goes up, Friday time. I hope to God I remember to put this up on Friday again. Anyway, so we're back. Seth was busy, has some complications. So we got our new friend here, new guest. We got. Say, oh, no, I pointed wrong. Say hello.
Hello.
This is Arya. Arya's here to talk today about one of the monsters of all time. We're here talking about the big beef jerky boy Odogaron. I got his little clipper right there. We're also going to be talking today about Ebony because Ebony is a subspecies. So we'll talk about both of them today, and hopefully I never have to fight either one of them again in my entire fucking life. I I'm not a big fan of these guys. They're very fun. They're very fast. I will give them that. It's part of the fun. But other than that, the noises they make are just freaking.
hmm
Anyway, so Arya's here today to help us talk about Odogaron because it's a big favorite. She loves Odogaron. It's like her favorite monster of all time.
Oh, definitely. Um, no, she just, she thinks they are appropriate for the stage in the game in which they appear in a way that's like, they're well designed. They remind her a bit of older games whenever you would have a particularly standout monster that in the grand scheme of things isn't great, but has some sort of attribute about it that makes it stick into somebody's mind, whether good or bad. Though in Odogaron's case, uh, for her in specific, it is a positive.
So when you think, why is that going off? Hold on. Right, for some reason, Alexa just decided, hey, did you set an alarm for this time? No? Here's one anyway. So anyway, Odogaron.
Sorry.
I'm so confused. It just started going off like, I'm like, I never set an alarm. Why are you... So, what you said you had an idea. So what is Odogaron? Like, what is his job? What is his purpose to you?
Um, in a lot of the Monster Hunter games, there's like a pattern to each like tier of quests. Not necessarily rank, because tiers can go between the ranks.
Yeah.
The large monsters you fight at rank 2 are going to be roughly comparable to what you'd fight at rank 1. Um, but there are certain things in each tier. There's like the flyer that you have to figure out angle of attacks. They teach you a gentle way about how to uh, properly hit a monster that is above you,
Right.
more or less. For Odogaron, for its tier, which she would put about mid game, maybe mid to late, in terms of it is the speed monster for that tier, while also part-timing as the roll catcher to teach you about roll catches that are going to actually spell your doom in later hunts if you don't learn how to recognize and avoid them.
So he's one of the we have teachers like Basarios who teaches you that, to change up your play style, get a different weapon because it may not always work.
hmm
There's ones like fuck, what was it? There was one where if you're hyper aggressive, they just catch you every fucking time you try to do something. I've talked about him recently, but I can't remember which one it was. But Odogaron in this case, then he's the one that's like, if you are not defensive enough, I'm gonna fuck your shit up.
Um, yeah, and the thing about him isn't necessarily that he'll fuck your shit up because he catches you out. It's more you didn't space properly because he has larger openings than most people think, again, because a very large majority of his attacks are roll catches. You know, he'll wind up, and when another monster would lash out, and when you're instinctively trained to roll, he'll hold it a split second longer and reach farther back before, swinging even faster than another monster would. So you have to recognize that he's doing a catch instead. And with his speed, that means that he is like teaching you as you're getting into higher ranks. Um, you know, like a Tigrex, the difference between a Tigrex and an enraged Tigrex, the massive speed boost.
Yeah.
With Odogaron, it is the speed boost of it being enraged plus gaining the ability to chain many attacks in a row. And it does random attacks, so you can't just remember which attack it's going to do into each one. It can jump in the air and like slam on you and immediately jump and pounce again, or it can jump, pounce, roll catch. And, so if you're just panic rolling through the onslaught, it'll get you. So it teaches you to like genuinely pay attention to what monsters are doing instead of just trying to memorize a specific pattern.
Odogaron is what happens when you give a monster too much meth. Like, pretty much. So what do you think about Odogaron? Do you think he has a solid bit, like, do you think what he does a good job at doing it? Like, with what he's supposed to be, what his role is, yeah?
Oh, definitely. Because he teaches you to, again, pay attention to what they're doing. Don't just flinch the instant you see an attack coming. Watch to see if it'll do it. And if you really learn him, like really, really learn him, you learn all of the dead zones on his attacks, and you can just stand in specific spots, and if you see the coming attack, you don't even have to move at all. And so he teaches you incredibly well. He's probably one of the better teachers in the entire game, in her opinion.
Now, what about Ebony? How does he square up in terms of OG comparatively?
Gaining the access to some new ranged attacks. He teaches. She would say he's more of a proper fight than being a teacher at that point. He's just another random mook mid-tier monster. Because the only thing he could reliably teach you is a subtle thing that you've probably picked up on before him, which is he applies Dragon Blight, which, if she recalls, in World meant you couldn't apply status effects. She really hopes that's correct still.
Ebony was basically just introduced. A lot of these Iceborne subspecies were just introduced because they wanted to make some subspecies, and they really just were scraping the bottom of the barrel at some point because they already had Nightshade and Coral, and then they had Fulgur. Fulgur was great. I loved Fulgur. But then they were like, who else? Fuck it. Just give Odogaron something. It's like,
yeah, it kind of does feel like that.
Like, out of everybody in World, I don't think I would have given Odogaron a subspecies. That's just my personal thing. Anybody more deserving of one that was a base World exclusive thing? Like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of creatures in base World that needed one.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
I mean,
It's
if
just
anything,
filler
maybe
content.
Rataban, Dodogama even. You know, like, I'd rather give Dodogama one than Seething Basilgeese should have been before, you know, Iceborne. But anyway, but yeah,
It,
I don't know about Ebony so much. And
yeah,
he may bring our GPA down a bit, but
yeah, unfortunately.
so do you think Ebony not doing as good a job as Odogaron has anything to do with the way they designed him, or is it a game failure? Like, is it the monster or the game at that point?
Maybe it's a little bit of both because by the time you're at G rank, you know, you're hopefully already picking up on most things, so the need for a teacher isn't really there.
Yeah.
So that becomes the fault of the uh, the monster instead of the game necessarily because it's already done its job. It's just there. However, there are still things you can teach in G rank that are a much more harsh lesson that you could do with a variant like that, but typically they don't, unfortunately.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Is Odogaron in Rise? I don't think he is.
She's honestly not sure.
I'm gonna take a real quick peek, but I am pretty certain Odogaron never made it. There's a few who never did, and some who did, and I'm like, that's really. And me and Steph have gone over a whole topic of discussion about how some of these fuckers even made it into there and where Rise takes place, because I'm pretty sure Rise takes place in the old world. But game appearances, he is in. He's only in World and Iceborne. He is not in any other game. So that brings me to the topic of, with that being the case, oh, hang on, I gotta redo my thing because my recording software is real finicky. Okay, there we go. So with them, it's because it's weird that Anjanath, like, I can understand the ones that fly. Like, we've seen Legiana go places. We've seen, you know, and Puke Puke makes it there. There are some monsters who it doesn't make any sense how they got back and forth from the old to the new and from the new to the old. Anjanath doesn't make any sense, so I'm thinking someone captured one, put it on a boat, and shipped him back. When it comes to Odogaron, you probably couldn't do that. Like, Anjanath's a threat. He's a big boy, but he's not snorting meth every 5 days. Whereas Odogaron is on that crank 24/7. If he wakes up on a boat, if he wakes up on a boat, you ain't got enough pipes to calm his ass back down. So, so I guess that's why he's not made it back. So my personal theory is he's not coming into Wilds. I don't think, because we had talked about like last week we discussed Valhazak and why he wouldn't come back, and it's because there's not a niche, and there's not a place for the effluvium in the new game, which what we see, which is why he's not in any other areas either. He's only in the Rotten Vale with the exception of Black Veil, but that's because Black Veil's got a new adaptation. But Odogaron, like, there's not really anything that, like, from what we've seen in Wilds, I can never remember their names, but the big hulking bear dog lion things, they're not only bigger than Odogaron, they're also in packs. They would absolutely decimate Odogaron, because Odogaron are solitary hunters. I don't care how much speed this thing has got, and its claws might penetrate deep, but these things are thick. I don't think he's going to have any room in the new world to even have a food chain place. So I don't think he's coming back. I don't know how especially not Ebony, but I don't know how do you feel about, do you think they're going to come back in 6th gen? Assuming that this is the start of the 6th, yeah. Do you think they're coming back to 6th gen?
Not sure. She thinks that would depend on whether or not the other, as she called them, like the lizard cat frames. You know, Tobi Hidachi.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they got like the same frame, the same model, movements, whatever.
And according to the wiki, they are somehow distant related, so it is interesting. But
Yeah, she thinks it would depend on that because it's unfortunately not memorable enough, despite being good at what it does, for it to make a reappearance on its own.
and the other thing
Toby
is,
could.
we don't have any biomes except for two that we've seen, and they're both wide open savanna areas. Odogaron lives in the Rotten Vale and scavenges off of corpses and is designed to live down there in close quarters areas. I don't think he's gonna do, unless they introduce a new environment and a new biome that'll be like, it's very, very kind to an Odogaron species. I just don't see him coming back.
But if you think about it too, has there ever been a Monster Hunter game without some like portion of map that is doomy, gloomy? You know?
Yeah, we've always got swamps and like flooded forests and stuff like that.
And and Capcom have clearly shown that they are not averse to taking something and readjusting it to fit better. You know, they could turn it into a, you know, this thing already lives in a rotten vale full of decay and grossness.
There are
Why not?
places in real life in the savannas and in Africa called elephant graveyards where they'll all come together and die in these ones places, and like hyenas usually hang out in those areas and they'll live in the corpses and they eat in those areas. They could very well, if they're doing a savanna type biome, make an elephant graveyard, so to speak, and an Odogaron could most likely live in these areas. And if not that, I think one would be a very good in a very good position adaptationally to live in like a canyon or a crevice type area where there's crags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's always a cave like system at some point.
If there's a cave system, I wonder if our two fleshy boys will come back. But we'll talk. We've already talked about one of them, and I think Kezu may come back. I don't know. Gigi, I hope to God never sees the light of day again. Fuck Giganox.
That is one monster that does not exist to ever be remembered.
But yeah, as far as it is now, I don't think he's coming back. If they do decide to implement, crevices, canyons, rocky areas, or elephant graveyards, so to speak, then yeah, because that's basically what the Rotten Vale is. It's a Dalamadur graveyard. But yeah, if they decide to implement something like that, I can see it. But I don't see Ebony making the return. There's no need for it. There was never a need for it to begin with. He never needed to. He was just thrown in the mix, just like Coral.
Yeah, just filler content.
At least Coral, I saw Coral. Coral Puke Puke had a. I could see that. It was believable. Viper Tobikidachi, not so much, because it's just so different, and in the environment it was introduced in, it didn't make a lot of sense. But it was still something that you. Ebony Odogaron doesn't make. Dragon elemented monsters have never made any sense unless they're elder dragons, in the exception of Deviljho. Because Deviljho eats everything. Surely at some point, whatever gives an elder dragon that dragon element ability, I'm sure Deviljho has eaten and gained that power the same way Rajang eats Kirin horns and gets his power. But in Ebony Odogaron, the only thing I can see is the Rotten Vale, maybe a dragon died there at some point and he ate it, and that's it. But
like you said, it's a Dalamadur graveyard.
But here's the problem. Well, yeah, but Dalamadur doesn't have the dragon element.
No, but the dragon, it still has the dragon blood and all of that, which is typically what like the dragon element reacts with.
So maybe this one got lucky and snagged some fresher, like actually got into like maybe the bone marrow of a Dalamadur and got some of that blood. I don't know. But yeah,
or there was like some, whatever. Long ass line of them.
All right. Now here's the other question. Do you want them to come back?
Honestly, yeah. She finds it really, really fun to fight because she enjoys her monsters with proper tells and reactions. She doesn't like the ones that are either completely mindless, whack away at them until their health hits zero, and which ones are just sit there and dodge for 30 seconds and then hope you have a meta enough build to properly stagger it and get in even a portion of the required DPS. It's a fair, fun fight, and she wouldn't be averse to seeing it.
I can agree. I wouldn't be averse to seeing either of them if those areas were introduced, because it does make sense to have some scavengers. They do give off hyena vibes now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah. Having some scavengers is always important, and if it's going to be them, let it be them. But now we get to move on to the best part of the show. I'm assuming you are looking at your screen. You can see like my camera and everything, right?
Yes.
Right. So, because this is your first time on here, we'll go over everything on it. But so basically, we've got our list covered in tiers and whatnot. We go from S to F, and it's kind of hard to get the whole thing on the screen. But so I usually have it closed because there's only one guy here at the very, very in last place at the ass end of F tier. Right there, I don't know if I can get it. Is right next to my head here, right where my fucking Jesus Christ. How hard is it to... Alright, you know what? Anyway, I'm gonna hold it up here. But right there. That little square next to my arm there. That's Plesioth. In the ass end of F tier, where he belongs. Last place on the list. Anyway, so that's where he's at, and he's where he's going to remain until we cover somebody who's going to go with him, which will either be Boldrome or Gypserus or some shit. So, here we have, in D tier, so last place at D tier currently is Kangala. I'm sure you remember him, big fat monkey boy.
Yeah, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, Seph's big favorite. Oh, everybody who's watched that video, I'm sure you know how much Seph loves Kangala. After that's Bambaro, our big moosey boy. And then we have Dodogama, the goodest boy to ever did exist. We have Puke Puke and Coral Puke Puke, respectively. Oh yeah, and in this Kangala tier is Emerald Kangala and whatever other bullshit fucking subs he has. Then we have Tetsukabra, the big red frog with the tusks. And then we move up to C tier, and in last place is Tobi Kadachi and Viper, respectively. And then Kezu in front of him. We then move up to Gravios, and in first place of C tier is Damio Hermitor, our big red crab boy. Then
You can see it.
B tier, last place is Bareth, our first dinosaur boy. Basarios is after him, and then in front of him. And then we have Diablos. We did not include Black Diablos because that's not a different species. It's the same thing, just a different. It's a sexual dimorphism thing. Well, not really dimorphism. It's just hormones. But Diablos and Black Diablos are in that tier. Then we have Yayan Kutku and Blue Yayan Kutku as the fourth place of B tier, and then third place of B tier is Kushala Daora. I know you might have problems with that one, but try the ones in front of him.
Let it slide.
Then Najarala is ahead of him. You remember Najarala, our only snake boy beside... I still hate he's the only snake wyvern in the whole franchise.
She loved him. She loved his noises.
The rattlesnake vibes.
Beautiful.
Ugh. And then this is probably... I didn't even think about this until we just got to this point, but this is probably where you're going to start screaming at me. Because third place of B tier is Kushala. First place of B tier, we have Kieran. This is strictly based off gameplay. This is not based off anything else. Strictly a gameplay perspective. That's all this is.
Awful people.
If you want to know more about why they're where they are, just go watch those videos. But last place in A tier is Malfestio. And then after Malfestio is Angie and Fulgur Angie. And then ahead of that is Valhazak. Second place of A tier is Deviljo. I don't think Savage is on that because Savage is a variant, I believe. First place of A tier is Lagiacrus. Then we move up to our kings are true reigners of the throne in S tier.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth place S tier is Seregios. Our third placer is Zenogre and Stygian Zenogre. Second place is Brachydios. And then the king of the hill is currently Nergigante. And as always, these rankings can and will move around depending on who gets added to the list, as well as what happens when we see them again in Wild, if we do see them again in Wild. Like if Kushala shows up in Wilds, his performance in Wilds might move him up or down, depending.
Yeah.
So, where are we placing our crack-addicted dog?
um,
I'm gonna give my honesty. Because of what Ebony doesn't bring to the party, and the fact that Odogaron has never made an appearance since his initial introduction. Even in like Master Rank, you don't know he's there unless you go looking for him in an optional quest. You don't ever see one really hardly. I'm honestly thinking Odogaron gets a C tier.
That's what she was about to say, yeah.
So the question is he better than Tobi Kadachi?
That's a tough one. Because Toby is, you know, the...
We were talking about this earlier. That's what it was. Kezu is that teacher of if you're overly aggressive, he'll fuck you up because he's constantly hitting A. He's got anti-personnel attacks out the ass. That's him. So this is the anti-Kezu. So the question is he better than Toby and is he better than Kezu? Is he better than Toby? I think he is, personally.
Yes.
Is he better than Kezu?
She'd say they're about the same because they both teach the opposite ends of the same spectrum. You know, over-aggressive, over-defensive.
But I will say that Odogaron is a more interesting fight, and he definitely grabs people's attention more than Kezu.
Oh, well, yeah, because Kezu isn't meant to be grabbed.
Well, it's because Kezu is limited. He's got a limited moveset.
Exactly.
He's boring as shit. He doesn't even have... I like that he doesn't have a theme song, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have a theme... Neither does Odogaron. Odogaron uses the Rotten Vale theme, which is what's currently been playing throughout this whole video. But I think Odogaron should be one step above Kezu. That's what I think. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, that definitely tracks.
Because Red Kezu doesn't change anything. I think he has maybe one or two different moves, and that's it. Whereas Ebony Odogaron has an entirely different element that he brings into play, and a new moveset. So, yeah, we're going to place Odogaron and Ebony Odogaron ahead of Kezu and Red Kezu. And this is your current list, everybody. So please, if you think we should have put him anywhere else, do let us know. Are you going to? Probably not. Y'all never do. Y'all never leave comments on these videos or say jack shit. But the option is there. It is available to you. Power to the people, as we say here on the channel. That's probably the first time I've ever said it, but we say it all the time. You just aren't listening. So that'll about wrap us up. Go and watch the rest of these ranking videos if you want to. Are you gonna? Probably not. You probably didn't even make it this far into this video. Go check out the rest of the stuff on the channel. Go check out the main company channel over at... I think we changed it to the Mystic Portal is what we're calling it now at this point. So go check out the Mystic Portal. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Go check out my Patreon. Are you gonna? Probably not, because you didn't make it this far into the video. Did you read the description where I'm posting the link to the Patreon? Probably not, because you didn't feel, like you had enough fucking energy to do that today. But, I'm going to say it anyway. So go check out Patreon. Go check out the rest of the stuff. Arya, go check out... go check out Arya's stuff that's probably there. That she's got hidden away somewhere. It's all over the internet. Arya, you got...
Dare.
Go check out all Arya's stuff. It's great. It's fantastic. It's far better than anything I could produce.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Alright, you got any last words before we get out of here?
No. Sorry for being so rambly.
No, it's perfect. It's great. It's what this whole segment's all about. Well, that'll about do it then. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you probably, I hope to God, next Friday. Yay!